everyone. Today we're going to be talking about unit factoring. In chemistry, we sometimes refer to this as dimensional analysis. Now, what this means, it's how can we take any number or expression how can it be multiplied by the number 1 without changing the value. And what that basically means is how many different ways can you write a number? Okay, so let me give you an example. If I have the number 21 and I multiply it by the number 1, well, we all know that that value is 21. Anything multiplied by 1 is itself. What if I multiply 21 times 1 over 1? Well, this still equals 1, so my answer is 21. What if I add some units here? If I have 21 days times 1 day over 1 day, well, that value is still 1. So I have 21 as my answer. What if I have 21 days times 1 week over 7 days? Well, that's a different value there. But 1 week and 7 days are still the same thing. So it's this value still equals 1. But my units come into play here. So you have to remember that the 21 is understood to be over 1. It's a numerator. So my units, I have days cancel out and I'm left with weeks as a unit. So I have 21 divided by 7 to give me 3 weeks. Well, that seems a little odd. Well, what if I ask you how many feet are in 3 yards? I think that most of us can sit there and say, oh, well, that's 9 feet. 3 feet, 3 yards. 3 feet in 1 yard, 3 times 3 is 9. Now, mathematically, how did you get that answer? How many feet in 3 yards? Well, I have 3 yards. And if I multiply 3 times 1, then I still have 3 yards. But all I need to do is change my units. So what I'm going to multiply this by is something that means 1, which is 3 feet in 1 yard. 3 feet in 1 yard is like saying 1 over 1, or that equals 1. So this value, my yards will cancel out and I'm left with feet as a unit. So 3 times 3 gives me 9 feet. If I work backwards and I ask you how many yards are in 9 feet? Well, 9 feet, and I want to turn feet into yards. So I have 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. So the premise here is whichever unit you want to get rid of, you put in the denominator. My feet would cancel out and I'm left with yards as a unit. So 9 divided by 3 is going to give me 3 yards. So all we're doing is manipulating these units, but I didn't change my value. 3 feet is the same as 1 yard, or 9 feet is the same as 3 yards. I'm not actually changing the value of the number itself. I'm just changing the unit. And that's what dimensional analysis is. That's what unit factoring is. Okay, you can go really far with this. I want to know, I'm going to go back to days. How many hours are in 21 days? That's a big one. So this is understood to be over 1. And what I want to do is I need my unit factor. I need my conversion. So I need this section here. What's going to be my 1 over 1, so to speak? I want to get rid of days, so I put days in the denominator. And I'm asking for hours, so I put hours in the numerator. Well, how many hours in how many days? There are 24 hours in one day. That's the same thing as 1. So I'm not changing my value, but my units are canceling. So 21 times 24 is going to give me 504 hours in 21 days. Okay, so let's do a slightly more difficult one. Let's go with convert 20 miles into feet. So I was given 20 miles, okay? And I want to turn that into feet. So again, whatever you are getting rid of, put in the denominator. Whatever you want to turn it into, put in the numerator. Okay, so if you know your conversions, there are 5,280 feet in 1 mile. So this 20 is over 1. My miles cancel out. I'm left with feet as a unit, and I get 105,600 feet. Okay, we can go even multiple steps. We can say convert 10 years into minutes. And that's a big conversion right there. So here's how we go about this. You were given 10 years, and that's where you're going to start. Okay, I want to get rid of years, put it in the denominator, and I want to turn it into something. Well, I don't know how many minutes are in a year. I do know how many days are in a year, so I'm going to convert this into days. There are 365 days in 1 year. So when I cancel out my units, I turn this into 3,650 days. All right, cool. Well, let's go one more step. I've got 3,650 days, and I can convert that into something else. I want to get rid of days, put it in the denominator, and I want to turn that into something. I do know how many hours are in a day, so I can go 24 hours in 1 day. My days cancel out. I'm left with hours, so I end up with 87,600 hours. Well, now I have a conversion from hours to minute. 87,600 hours, and I want to convert that into minutes. Whatever I'm getting rid of, put in the denominator. Whatever you want to turn it into, put in the numerator. And I've got minutes and hours, so I know that there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So I'm going to cancel out my hours. I'm left with minutes, and I end up with a really huge number, 5,256,000 minutes. Okay. Now, a question that I always get asked is, do I always multiply? No. Remember, if you go backwards, like I did with the yards and the feet, if I start with feet and go to yards, then I'm dividing by the number. So it matters what unit you're putting in the denominator. There are 3 feet right here in 1 yard. Okay, so it matters what the location is. Sometimes you'll multiply, sometimes you'll divide. Now, in chemistry, we have something called the factor label method. And you don't have to do all of this in 3 separate steps. You can do all of this in 1 step, and that's where the factor label method comes in. So I'm starting with 10 years, and I'm going to make this cross section here. And each one of these lines represents a multiplication. Okay, so 10 years is understood to be over 1, and I'm converting 10 years into days. So I got 365 days in 1 year. And then I'm converting days into hours. So I'm getting rid of days, put it in the denominator. I want hours, put it in the numerator. So 24 hours in one day. And then I have hours, put it in the denominator, and minutes in the numerator. So 60 minutes in 1 hour. And it's an easier way to write all of this out instead of just making 3 separate steps. Now, if making the 3 separate steps is easier for you, then do that by all means. This is just kind of like a shortcut, and as you go through, it will be years cancel out, days cancel out, hours cancel out, and you're left with minutes as your final unit. But then you have to multiply your entire numerator together and then divide it by your entire denominator. In this case, the denominator is all 1, so it's not that big a deal. But sometimes you have numbers in that denominator, and you have to remember your order of operations. You can't multiply, divide, multiply, divide, multiply, divide. You have to do the entire numerator divided by the entire denominator. Okay? Overall, that's about it. Okay, next class, we're going to review some graphing and different measuring techniques and talk about a few new topics. Okay? Until then, work together, help each other, and make the world a better place. See you.